Hello, today we are doing a family oral history with Michael Begay. Uh, is it okay if we um, record this interview?
Yes, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Please state your name.
My name is Michael Begay. I currently live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yate Bene, that just means good morning. I am Navajo.
Um, where were you born and when?
I was born in Gallup, New Mexico, which is about almost 2 hour drive. That's going to be west of here. I was born in 1968.
And west of Albuquerque. What were your friends like growing up?
My friends growing up on the reservation, it was with my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my grandmothers, my grandfathers. I say on the reservation because it was a two-part with me. I lived in Gallup, the little town of Gallup, when I was in school. And the neighborhood consisted of a few friends, but a lot of it was hanging out with my older sister. During breaks and during summers, I would be back on the reservation living with my grandmother. So a lot of it was, once again, cousins. All the immediate family that I had when I was growing up was on the reservation. It was my cousins, my aunts, my uncles.
What hobbies did you have?
Hobbies on the reservation, believe it or not, we used to make our own slingshots out of trees. A little Y on the trees. We'd find a good branch thick enough, cut it, shave it down. Back then, they used to have tubes in the vehicle tires. So my uncles, when they would change out a tire, the tube would just be laying around. So we cut those in strips for the actual pulling of the rock and whatnot.
Okay.
And there was plenty of leather laying around, so we would make the little leather pockets, to hold the rock. And we would go around and shoot birds. Yes, it's a little sorry about that, but we used to actually feed our cats that hung around in that area. And then back in town, we would, of course, ride our bikes, play with the kids, just play. I mean, when we were young, we mainly played.
Gotcha. Okay. What holiday did your family enjoy the most?
Wow, holiday. I would say it would be holidays. A lot of it was on the reservation, once again. Everybody would get together. It was memorable because we got to see aunts and uncles and cousins that you hadn't seen in a while that were further away. They all came together. Just had a grand old time. Just kids would just play. Some of the kids would bring their bikes, and we would all take turns riding the bikes. Of course, we had our bikes at times. I say at times because sometimes we would take it back home to Gallup, and we wouldn't have the luxury of bringing it back sometimes. So a lot of it just holidays kind of all mixed together with family time.
Gotcha. Okay. What was the most memorable holiday?
Oh my gosh, I would say it had to be Easter and Christmas. In Gallup back in the day, you actually had snow. Sometimes you wake up to a white Christmas, or it would snow a few days before Christmas, and you'd have snow. My cousins out there we made things out of stuff that you didn't have. So they used to get a leaf springs from a vehicle, and they would make a sled, but it was a pretty big sled. And they would put boards together and put them on top, and then put a rope through it and anchor it to my dad's 4x4 vehicle on the hitch. And he used to pull us around on the rural roads around there, and it was great. Just the snow flying around. At times he'd fly off, and Easter was everyone would get together. We would play horseshoes. We would do tug of war. The women always won the tug of war. I always put it as they made bread so their hands were sure strong, and they would hold onto that rope, and they always won. Even to this day, they would always win. It's funny. We would play, what was it? Horseshoes, tug of war, of course, finding the Easter eggs. We played baseball, we played volleyball, just a lot of things. It was great. We had a big open area and a lot of trees, and it was just good. It was really good back then.
Nice. Okay. Pets. What kind of pets did you have growing up?
Oh gosh, like I said on the reservation, you had cows. Well, they're not really pets, but you had cows and horses and ducks and chickens. The pets we had were our dogs. My personal dog was his name was Ricky. He was a German Shepherd. My dad got him at a place in Arizona one day. He worked as an electrician, and somebody was giving away a German Shepherd. Well, to me, it was a dog, and I got him, took him home. He was one of the best dogs I've ever had. He was really good. So we had cats also in the area, but they were pretty fidgety, I guess you would say. They'd hang around, but you really couldn't hold them or cuddle them because they were always take off and go hunting and always doing something.
Gotcha. Okay. Were your pets influential in your development as a child?
Oh yes, most definitely. You had a sense of security knowing that you had animals there, especially the dogs. The cats and the chickens would actually keep away snakes, if you believe it or not. So playing outside was always safe because they would keep the snakes away. They were rattlesnakes out there. Even till this day, there are rattlesnakes out there. You could go and walk. We'd walk miles away from the house, and it was a pretty wooded area. There was a lot of trees out there, so if you didn't know the area, you would get lost. And of course, the dog would always find its way back. But you felt safe. The dogs always took care of you. They never wandered too far away from you. They would growl when they would sense something in the trees. You know, of course, there's coyotes and stuff out there. There's actually bears out there.
Wow.
And bobcats. So they pretty much kept us protected.
Okay. Describe the type of clothing you wore.
Oh my gosh, clothing. Back in the late 60s and 70s, it consisted of plaid shirts and plaid pants. I actually had this pair of pants that were green and yellow checkered pants, and my clothes, I remember the collars used to come out to way out here, and they were kind of like silky sheen shirts, kind of like what John Travolta wore. They were the bell bottoms. Yeah, there was something else back then.
Nice, nice. What did you do in your first job?
Oh, my first job, I was a sacker. They used to call him a courtesy clerk back in the day. It was great. It was in the town of Gallup. I remember I started out young. I was like 15, 16 years old. So I was actually working in a grocery store.
Okay. How long did you hold on to that job?
I would say I was there about 3 years. I remember it took me through my sophomore, through my senior year in high school, and even a year after that, almost a year after high school.
Okay. What key takeaways did you learn from your first job?
Wow, key takeaways. I want to compare it to nowadays. I learned a lot of dealing with the public, being courteous, being very, what's the word I want to look for? Helpful to the older ladies, and especially to the ladies, saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir to the men. Teamwork, that was the number one thing. And also learning how to sack your groceries. That is a lost art. Back then, we got written up if we didn't sack the groceries right. Keep all the non-perishables together away from the food. Keep the eggs and the bread together so they don't get crushed. Keep the cold foods together so they stay cold when they're taking their food home. All the heavy stuff at the bottom, all the light stuff on top. Boxes were set on the side so to make sure the sack would stand up straight. And that was actually paper sacks back in the day. I remember plastics came to our store like in late 85, early 86. It was funny, the representative came in and he was telling us about plastic, and he was showing us. He put 2 6-packs of soda in the bag, and he was trying to puncture the hole into the bag so it wouldn't tear. Little did he know, he punctured one of the cans and he spun it all the way around, and soda went everywhere. That guy was so embarrassed. We laughed so hard. But I remember that came out, and we had to learn how to make sure they stand up right. Boxes on the sides and cans in the middle. Always make sure everything stood up straight so it doesn't fall around in the vehicles, which once again is a lost art, because nowadays they just throw all kinds of stuff into the bag, not even worrying about keeping cold foods cold, perishables. separate non-foods with and stay with the non-foods. Nowadays they just throw it in, and it's funny because my wife, when we go shopping, she likes me to sack for her, so I'll tell the sacker, I got this, and they look at me like, and I say, I got it. So I'll actually sack our own groceries.
Nice. Well, that concludes my interview with you, Mike. I appreciate your time, and thank you again. Anything else to say?
No, it was great being part of this. Hakuan, it means goodbye. Y'all have a good day. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.